Sponsored by JMR Rentals, professional digital cinema and broadcast equipment rentals in Brooklyn, New York. jmrny.com.
Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend. I'm Jason Godbey, and today on the program, I'll be speaking with Emmy Award-winning director Timothy Woodward Jr. about his latest film, Til Death Do Us Part. But first, we've got some film festival news for you. In August, the Greenpoint Film Festival kicked off, as it has for the past few years, with an opening night gala at the Polish consulate, where I had a chance to speak with the festival's creative director, Christopher Gillard.
Good evening, dobry wieczór, ladies and gentlemen, for those who speak Polish. My name is Olivia Bach, and I will be your host this evening. It is my great honor to return to the consulate and present the 12th annual Greenpoint Film Festival. The Greenpoint Film Festival was founded in 2011 by a local artist, Rosa Valado. After dedicating 9 years to the festival, Valado graciously passed the baton to Anthony Argento, the current executive director, who continues the festival's mission. And what is that mission? To create a more empathetic world around us through the medium of film. Therefore, the festival continually seeks to provide a platform for innovative and up-and-coming filmmakers who push the envelope of filmmaking. The Greenpoint Film Festival is dedicated to promoting the charming neighborhood of Greenpoint, historically known as the Little Poland of New York. On behalf of the Greenpoint Film Festival, I would like to thank the Polish Consulate of New York for hosting us so generously yet for another year. Thank you.
Ricardo, how does it feel to be back here at the Polish consulate?
Extremely grateful, especially in the current times that we're in, to be hosted here in times of war at Poland, Ukraine. I mean, this is incredible to be able to celebrate culture and primarily celebrating the Polish and Ukrainian culture, which we are doing today and tomorrow, especially in the conflict that we are all witnessing around the world.
Things have changed for the festival this year. You guys were outdoors last year. You're back inside. What was the thinking behind that?
We've always honestly wanted to be inside. So we were just like being meticulously careful about whether it was safe to be outside or it was about time to be inside. And now it's since May it's officially over with the pandemic. So we thought collectively that it was about the right time.
And can you tell us like what we have in store for the festival this year?
So we have a total of 48 films that we have curated, programmed, and we're screening in the next 4 days. 10 features and 38 short films. Our initial themes in the opening are about war, culture, and storytelling. We have a program opening tomorrow titled Echoes of Ukraine, which is a short film called Classic about an older Ukrainian man from Queens who is collecting Ukrainian stamps, or has been doing so for 100 years. Stamps are 100 years old. But that's the first short doc that we have, and then the feature that we are opening is the Hamlet Syndrome, which is about the first generation of Ukrainian actors that was born after the fall of the Soviet Union. And we are just very much adamant in making sure that this is an important topic to bring out to people and to not just celebrate, but to have our audience really go into these stories, because they're more than just stories. They're everything that is important to humanity right now.
Is that everything in the festival? Does everything fit that theme, or?
So the overall theme is the evolution of storytelling. And initially we wanted to go a little bit higher with our ambitions, but we had to settle for something in the middle. And overall, we have one venue that is celebrating the past, present, and future, which means a backyard in our venue, which is meant for networking and mixers. Food and beverages are going to be served in the backyard, so it's akin to celebrate how ancient hominids used to celebrate storytelling around the fire, but just with no fire for us. And then we'll have the indoor screenings, just celebrating normal modern day storytelling and film. And we have a little bit of a surprise, which is an XR sponsor that is giving us a holographic monitor. We have an exhibit in our venue which is made of holographic monitors. It's the new thing in town, and the company is Looking Glass Factory. We're very happy to be partnering with them, where they have a 65-inch monitor and a few smaller displays showing comic books and a few other surprises in all holograms. So it's symbolizing the future of storytelling.
For festivals like this that aren't, the Tribecas or the Sundances of the world, why do you feel these are still important? Why are people still going to these? Why do audiences come? Why do filmmakers need to be here?
This question came along in the first year that we did the festival because we had the option to do a drive-in or to do it online, and you do not have a festival online. It's you need to have the ability to be networking with people, filmmakers, meeting each other, and having just the fifth essence of just being there. There's more than just words and talking to people on a camera. There's an element, an emotional element that perhaps could be just more ineffable as a description of what it is. But we need to be in the room when we're meeting other fellow artists and creators, storytellers, neighbors or friends alike. That there's really no other way to celebrate storytelling other than being in the room next to the storytellers, and we think this is what we have to do.
And you feel like that happens more at these smaller festivals than at the bigger kind of fest?
Because I adamantly believe that a lot of festivals are driven, unfortunately, by capitalism, and they forget to look at what they're doing. They rather look at the spreadsheets because, I get it, you have to survive in a capitalistic society, but it's crucially important to look at what you're providing to society and not just focus on spreadsheets.
You're having this festival in the midst of two strikes, the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA strike. What does that mean to the festival, and how are you kind of dealing with it?
Well, we almost shut down the festival. We had to check ourselves before we wrecked ourselves, if you will. No, but we stand in solidarity with SAG-AFTRA. I'm a producer-director as well, independent. All of us working in the festival are filmmakers primarily. And this is a very important issue, and we do stand absolutely with the unions that are trying to continue making film a possibility rather than just having a computer where somebody presses some buttons and here's your film. No, that's not filmmaking. Whatever you want to call it, that's not. That's some kind of late-stage capitalism. So we need to support ourselves because technology right now is just not ready to serve us as a species. So we need to wait a little bit before our political system can catch up or economical system can catch up before we're inviting machines into our world. So absolutely, we need to stand in solidarity with the unions. They are the last, or they're on the front lines right now for what's at stake here. And there's a lot more than just jobs at stake. It's everything that we take for granted on a daily basis that's really at stake. So yes, we're going to be standing in solidarity, and honestly, all of our films have no studio affiliations. We had to check that out, of course, and understand what we have right now in our lineup. None of them they're all independents. There is no such thing as us promoting studios or being in association with AMPTP. None of us are members or have any affiliations with them.
And for people who want to know more about the festival, possible filmmakers who want to submit to the festival, where can they find you guys online?
Just greenpointfilmfestival.org, or just follow us on Instagram. Primarily Instagram is our biggest social media.
The festival ran from August 2nd to the 6th and concluded with an awards ceremony. Some of the winners on the night included Limbo for the Best Documentary Short, Lunchbox for Best Narrative Short. The award for Best Animation went to Feeling the Apocalypse. The Best Documentary Feature was Into the Spotlight. The awards for Best Narrative Feature and the Grand Jury Award winner was Film for Aliens. Turning now to our feature interview, Til Death Do Us Part is the story of a bride-to-be who, after running away from her wedding day, must fight for her survival against her former fiancé and his 7 deadly groomsmen. I caught up with the film's director, Timothy Woodward Jr. Welcome, Timothy.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for doing this. I know you're doing a bunch of these today, and they can probably be pretty exhausting, so I think I caught you pretty early in the day while you're fresh. Yep. You haven't answered these questions a million times already. But I saw the film, and we got a lot to talk about. My first question is, what was the genesis of this movie? Like, how did it come about?
I was looking actively for something to do with Natalie Byrne. So I was just kind of scrolling through scripts. And then when this script came across, it actually had a Def Leppard quote written inside of it from Love Bites, which is automatically like the irony of that was pretty awesome. And so when I started reading it, it was a little more straightforward. And I started thinking about, well, look, if this had a lot of comedy and we added some little bit of edgy blood and some elements to it, this could be really cool and it could be fun. And I was looking for something fun to do. So that's kind of how it came about.
There's a lot of action in this movie. And I think the strong point is the action. There's a lot of fights and things like that. And what I was curious, you approaching this as a director, how are you able to capture the fights the way you did, which I think looks really great? Can you give me what your philosophy of action is, kind of what makes a great action scene?
One of the things is having talented actors who can do their own stunts or performers, who can back up the actors. In this case, we had a lot of amazing actors who could also do stunts. Natalie did 99% of her own stuff. D.Y. Seau. We also had Arnold Chun, who was a great fight stunt coordinator. But I think one of the main things for me is, we did a lot of previews in this ahead of time, which is a lot of trial runs, but they did it in parks. They were choreographed. When we got there on the day, I kind of just threw a lot of that out the window because you're looking at the room and you're seeing, what do I've got to work with? How would it be? So to me, it's always, each person has to have their own plan, their own wants, their own desires. So Natalie's character was trying to escape. The other one was trying to get her. So you have cat and mouse. And when you create that, it's not just kill. It's more of a run. And then I like to also use whatever's in the room available. In one room, we had a bookshelf, we had a bed. She's throwing the books across, using anything that she can. In the garage, there's the shovel, there's the chainsaw, there's, any kind of thing that we can find that we can use when I walk in a room. I like to look at that and try to, make it work off of that. And then also I think that, one thing is not close, choppy cuts, going wide. We used the 12 millimeter lens, even though we shot anamorphic the entire film, we used for some of the fight scenes, a 12 millimeter spherical lens. So you could really capture the background. You could see them, you could actually see the hits and you could see their faces. And I also think that there's something magical when you see someone get hit and you see the hit land and you see their face turn towards the camera or their reaction for it. So you get the feeling of it in one shot, opposed to hit, change, punch, go back and stuff like that. So, just a few things that we were thinking about going in.
I'm glad that you mentioned people doing their own stunts, because I did, I was looking for doubles in this. I was looking for points where you don't maybe see the actor's face, or because we've all seen they're shot from above or they're shot in the dark, and you can kind of tell it's another gal with a wig on or something. The other thing I thought about the action is it's very violent and brutal. And the fights don't, most of the fights anyway, don't go on forever like some martial arts fights can in movies. It was, I have to say, I had to kind of look away from some of the violence, especially when, you've got a young woman getting hit in the face. That was a little much. Can you kind of talk about, because a lot of movies like this, they could go with a more, for lack of a better word, cartoony kind of over-the-top violence. Why did you decide to go with this more realistic, brutal type of tone?
Well, we were thinking in the beginning, the film is already super stylized no matter what. So each fight has its own kind of style, and the film is very kind of, stylized, genre world, little Tarantino-ish, it's got that feel to it. So with the fights, one thing we wanted is we didn't want to make them feel, again, too choreographed, so there's some stuff that's sloppy. I mean, she's jumping on his head, doing stuff, but then they both fall down. They're both sliding across the floor. It's reaching for, it's grabbing. It's not, so we wanted to add a little flair to it, but also, again, make them very brutal. And make them, as if you notice, as the character actually goes along in the movie, the bride, and she starts kind of unhinging a little bit more and getting away from necessarily the escape, which is still ultimately her plan, but like into this everyone's going down mode. The fights actually get more brutal, and it gets more up until our final fight, which is pretty, we did some cool stuff there, and it's very raw. But that's one thing that I wanted them all to feel raw and not choreograph, punch, react. So we changed a lot of stuff on the fly to make it feel very raw and very, animalistic. So you see the bride just, when she's got to muster the strength, she screams and like just comes at them, full force, these big ass men, because that's what we felt like she would have to do. If she can't run, she's got to just charge.
Well, of course, there's a lot of blood in the movie. And you don't do that thing where, like, say at the end of a superhero movie, like at the end of the Black Widow movie, Scarlett Johansson looks amazing. She's in the field and she looks like, she's fresh and beautiful. Your heroine looks beat up at the end of this movie.
Yeah, we put her through it. I mean, and that was the feel. If you notice also, she's doing all this with no shoes. She has no shoes the entire film, just as a little detail. So she's walking across the roof, going back and forth, no shoes, running across the rocks, kicking, punching, fighting, getting her feet stepped on, so she's doing it with no shoes. There's blood, there's bruises, there's bangs. She's getting hit because we wanted you to feel like that, this character was going through a lot. We threw her in everything possible. And, you can't, at one point, she has to completely wash off, her face because it's just completely there. And we wanted to make sure that was a part of it. We didn't want to do like blood for blood's sake, because we could have done it a lot more. We have a lot of stuff that we could have went to extreme if we wanted to. Some body parts that get stabbed that shouldn't. We could have added tons of blood there. We could have had blood in, different places, but we didn't. But we wanted to make sure that when we did, it was effective, and you saw her, going through this at the end. And also there's this juxtaposition about a bride on her wedding day. It's the happiest day of her life. And she's, in the white dress and, beautiful and flowing. And our bride is like just My Bloody Valentine,
Most of the time in you see fights and things. There's a lot of fights in superhero movies.
Yeah.
But nobody ever looks like they're really getting hurt. They seem to be cutting on each hit and going back and forth, which is like a popular style. Was there kind of in the edit was that something that you decided later where you were like, we're not going to cut on every hit. We're going to linger there for a moment?
Yeah. One fortunate thing is that we kind of shot it where you almost couldn't, even if we wanted to, because we really shot wide on a lot of stuff. And a lot of this stuff was set up just like, I don't want to give away too much, but there's a fight with the end fight. And there's a moment where the camera's locked on the back and you see the hit, and Natalie's face, just the bride, just turns right into it. And that was the only shot of that. We didn't do it and cover it, from the other angle like you would normally do, because I didn't want to get into a spot where I wasn't using these certain hits that were meant to showcase that. Because to me, it wasn't about the hit. It was about seeing her face whipping the camera after the hit and dropping out that I felt like was going to be effective. So we didn't even cover that from the other side, for example. So there was a lot of stuff like that was just designed that was going to be that way. And that was it. There's another example when Natalie does a split and she does something with the split. She goes up, there's a knife. And you see, that was never shot from the other side or for the other guy, because it was all about that moment. We wanted to stay in that.
There seems to have been a resurgence now of the sort of lower or mid-budget action films that are rated R. They're not this sort of sugar-coated PG-13 type of thing. Was there any film or any sort of anything that told you that you had the license to make a fully rated R film and not have to dumb it down for PG-13?
No, I don't think so. I think what it was more for me is in today's marketplace, number one, it's very hard to stand out as an independent. So I wanted to do something completely different. And number two, I just thought about, there's humor in it. There's like ways of doing it. And I thought, let's stand out, let's make something. And I just kind of went balls to the walls with whatever I felt at the moment. And I just didn't hold back. And luckily I was able to release it the way I was, because I honestly thought I might catch a little bit of slack on certain things and be told, hey, you have to pull this back a little bit, especially if you want to get a theatrical release. Luckily I didn't. So, you get to see it the way that, I wanted it done. So if it fails, I fall on the sword. And if it does good, then that's great. But it was never meant to be a movie where everyone can say, oh, I love that. It's definitely a movie where if you can appreciate the humor behind it, and you appreciate good fights, and you appreciate some tension, and you can get the overall tone of the movie, you're going to like it. If you go in thinking it's a very serious movie and, there's, it's every moment is supposed to be taken, not with a chuckle or with all seriousness. And we do have some serious stuff in there. It's a mix. Then, you may have a time with it. You know what I mean? If you think you're going to go see a straight horror movie, you're not going to, enjoy yourself as much as if you go in knowing you're looking at something that's very genre bending, that's very tongue in cheek, that has some serious moments in it. But it's supposed to be a fun movie. And that's what I went out to make.
It doesn't seem like there was a concern on your part or in the writing or anywhere along the way where you guys are like, hey, we're going to lose audience if we do this.
You know what? At the end of the day, I've done a lot of movies. I've been fortunate enough to win an Emmy, for a series that I did. And I feel like at some point, artistically, you have to just say, I want to have fun and do this. And, if it does offend anyone, I apologize. It's not my goal. My goal was to make something that was just very fun and very entertaining. And, and again, I think art is something that's always going to be subjective. Entertainment is going to be subjective. Some people like certain types of things, some people don't. But we definitely didn't go in with the mind of offending people. But we also didn't pull back either. I didn't want to pull back because at the end of the day, even though people may not agree with certain violent elements or say, hey, this is it. I've even read on message boards, people are saying, well, they're taking marriage, which is, supposed to be this sacred thing and making fun of them. And it's not. The movie's actually deeper when you watch it. It's not just about a bride leaving her husband and there's an understory for why she's doing it, and there's also a women's empowerment thing here when you look at it. And we have a strong female lead who's Ukrainian and who kicks butt, and we have some funny guys who kick butt, so we were trying to have a good time with it.
Great. I got to wrap up, so I will ask you, for those who want to find out more about this film online, is there a website, social media you can let us, you can find them on?
Yeah, it's Til Death Do Us Part.movie is the website. Fandango.com has tickets everywhere. AMC.com, also we're in a lot of AMC theaters, but Fandango.com to even the other chains. August 4th, this Friday, we hope everybody spreads the word. It's a small indie film, non-AMPTP. So we're completely independent of the studios, and we ended up getting a release that's in almost every state, and we have several hundred theaters, and we are hoping that everyone will come out and support the film and tell their friends and just have a good time. Go check it out.
Thank you so much. This was great. Good luck with the movie. Congratulations on the movie and getting a release. And if you have another project sometime down the road, please do come back.
Hey, thank you. I will. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
And that's all we have time for today. Thanks so much for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. For more of our content, including our movie reviews, visit our website, norestfortheweekendpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube, youtube.com/getbehindtherabbit. I'd like to thank my guests, Ricardo Villar and Timothy Woodward Jr., as well as our sponsor, JMR Rentals. For Behind the Rabbit Productions, I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.